Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the OneTalk podcast. Here with your host, Ryan McCarthy. And today we are joined by Ryan Moresby-White. Ryan's relationship and men's work mentor, and he helps initiating high-achieving men into their healthy masculine, uncovering their purpose and building conscious relationships. Ryan is also the founder of Inspired Project. And within today's episode, we touch deeply on mindset, men's work, masculinity, uncovering your purpose, building conscious relationships with self and other people, and so much more. It's a gem of an episode. I'm really keen for you all to dive into it. In other news, if you please leave this podcast a rating, it means so much in terms of helping this podcast grow and reaching a larger audience. But without further ado, let's welcome Ryan.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all. The marathon continue. Victory lap tonight, though. Victory lap tonight.
Welcome to the OneTalk podcast with Ryan McCarthy.
The marathon continues. That's what you would say.
Welcome, Ryan. How are you, brother?
I'm doing well, brother. I'm super grateful to be here. Thanks for having me on.
No worries. It's always good to have you back on the OneTalk. This one's face to face. It's an honor to have you here, man.
Yeah, thanks, brother.
Yeah, what's been happening in your life since our last episode? I know the listeners last heard, you're moving to Bali. So I just want to have like a bit of a debrief or a bit of a catch up with what's been happening with Ryan, or how's Ryan been lately?
Yeah. What a topic to open into. I think last we spoke, I was just about to head to Bali. I just, business was really starting to kick off and started to really expand globally with the men that I was working with, around the world, and decided to take that journey to Bali with the relationship that I was in at the time. And I knew that Bali was going to be quite an initiation and like healing journey for myself. Yeah. And it was nothing short but that. It was deep. Yeah, it was very, very deep. And as we'll open probably more into around relationships, around healing, like the healing little boy, so you can, really step into his power and potential as a man. And it's very much the work that I'm committed to, right? Like last year, the word for me last year was emergence. Was me emerging as the leader, as the man, into my deepest self. It's going to create the most transformation possible for the people that I serve. And in order for that to be true, I must first be able to go through that initiation myself and be the embodiment of that. And I asked for it and it came. It came in the form of some unexpected experiences that I experienced around abandonment and healing that little boy and what he experienced as a little 5-year-old boy. And so it'd be good for us to speak into like the inner child stuff and coming back to self, building relationship with self, especially as men. And what's been going on recently is the integration of everything that I experienced in Bali, all of the wounding and the trauma that actually I was initiated to. It was already there, and I was initiated into finally feeling it. And when the student's ready, the teacher will appear, and the teacher normally comes in a form of anything really. It could be a book, could be a podcast, could be a mentor, could be a relationship breakdown, which is what I experienced. And the student was ready, and I've gone through that, and it's been an integration of that. So that's what's been happening as of late, and it's been a journey of self connection on a far deeper level than I ever could have imagined.
Yeah, because like when you ask exactly what you said there, like if you ask God or you ask the universe for strength, courage, love, or whatever it is you want to manifest into your life, you won't wake up the next day with those feelings. Instead, you'll get put to the test with situations where you will gain more love, where you will gain more strength, where you will gain more courage. But it's how you actually initiate yourself into those situations to become that.
Yeah, and Alex Hormozy said this perfectly. Yeah. He was like, you know, if God was to create like a powerful, strong, like the perfect human, do you think he would put that person through easy? Right? He's going to put him through challenges, through heartbreak, through the hardest things possible. And that's how we really are shaped into these people that you see that go on to transform the world. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, especially speaking into relationships, like one of my past relationships, when that ended with my partner, like I went through a messy stage. Like I was drinking a lot. I was going out probably 4 days a week to the pub, just trying to find ways to suppress the pain. But the man I became on the journey when I started to focus on myself, getting more disciplined, trying to find more healthy patterns implemented to my life, made me the person I am today. So if I didn't go through those wounds, I wouldn't be able to heal them to create a version of myself that I did want when I was a little child. You know, when you talk about the inner child stuff, because the people that we look around or the people that we grow up around, sometimes you can look at them and want to be them, or sometimes you can look at them and be like, I don't want to be that person at all. And I was one of those people. I was like, I don't want to be what I see in my environment, so I really want to try and become something else. But when you model your environment for so long and you know what you truly want, you can feel so disconnected. But the trials and tribulations, I believe, are so important because of what creates who you can become.
Yeah, man. And exactly what you just said there around, if you don't intentionally go in to feel it, to heal these parts of you, like you'll be made to feel it one day. Yeah. And yeah, very much, you know, that's what I've had to go through. And it's, as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, like we can heal from a place of pain and suffering, or we can heal from a place of joy and inspiration by going in ourselves and doing it from a place of inspiration to just become better and to be a better partner, to be a better father, to be a better man, to be a better woman, to not just be better, but to come back to who you truly are and be a full expression of that. We can do that from a place of inspiration, or we can do it from a place of pain and suffering when we're made to feel it and go through it. So, and you know, we're in life when most people are more motivated by the need to move away from pain than to, you know, seek pleasure. Yeah. And there was, you know, a study done with this. I think they did it with a rat. Dr. Jordan Peterson speaks about it, and it's like within the nervous system of an animal, even as humans, right? The energy and the explosiveness of the energy that comes from something that's running from danger, for example, like a gazelle running from a lion, right? It's going to have so much more intensity and intention running from fear than it is running towards what it wants. And they proved it to be about 3 times as more powerful to run away from fear. And I feel that this is why pain is such a great motivator sometimes. And there's no judgment around this either. Yeah. It's honoring, right, when you are experiencing that, but then using your pain to then turn into your purpose instead of using your pain to then be the dictator of you being a victim for the rest of your life, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And using it as an inspiration as well. Like, how have you found for yourself, man, to have the mindset perspective shift to actually use it as a factor to inspire you rather than to be a victim?
This is where I think it's really powerful for, like, mostly men to be attached to a greater vision, a greater purpose that's far greater than them, that they might not ever achieve in their lifetime, and do everything, become who they need to become in order to fulfill that purpose and mission. Because that's going to be a stronger pull in order for you to be able to become the person that you need to become in order to fulfill that. And in order for you to fulfill that purpose and mission, there's going to be lots of healing. Like, business is one of the greatest personal development programs you could ever enroll yourself into. And when a man's living on purpose, when he's expressing his purpose and his mission to the world, and he's attached to that thing that's far greater than him, and he's going after that, I think that's a great motivator and a great pull. A greater purpose could also be family as well. Like, just simply becoming the best person you could possibly be so you can show up for the people around you, especially your future kids, your future wife, your future husband, to be the full expression of someone that's actually has the capacity to give love and receive love. That's the most important one, to actually receive love. Because if we can't receive love, then we're actually preventing the other person from giving us love, and therefore we're interrupting the natural giving and receiving of love. And therefore, if you can't receive love, are you really you're preventing someone else from giving you love, which is the definition of being emotionally unavailable. Yeah. So this is the power of really healing the pain that a lot of people have on their heart that they haven't had the courage to dive into yet, or the tools or the guidance or the knowing how or where to even start, right? When we really crack into it, crack it open. This is why heartbreak is such a powerful initiation for people to really awaken their potential, because their heart literally cracks open, and that's beautiful, right? The fact that it's cracked open means that the shell that was keeping it protected, right, is now vulnerable and open. It's like, cool, now we can go in there and you can be a full expression of that cracking open. Yeah.
Explore it.
Yeah.
There's so many things I want to break down from that, because so many awesome topics where a lot of people relate. So there's two. The first one is receiving love and why people struggle with it. So I want to touch on that first. So even with myself, probably up until about 3 years ago is when I first started to receive love and accepting it. Up until that point, like, I was the person that could give love to everyone, but if it came to me, I'd deflect it straight away, and I wouldn't appreciate it. I wasn't able to sit with it. And I believe that came from a point in my life where I didn't feel like I grew up with enough love. So that meant anytime I received love, it just felt so unnatural to me that I didn't want it. So I just had to try and find ways to deflect it. But now I've been building on like finding love for myself, and I believe that comes through making commitments, making promises to myself and fulfilling them, and then in return as well, doing connection exercises with my partner and such. But it's just finding ways to really connect with receiving love and being okay with that. Because I feel like a lot of men in today's society, probably men forever actually, have struggled with receiving love, because men are providers, so they're really good at giving and doing, but not really as good as receiving.
Yeah. Double click on that. Bro, this stems back to, I believe it very much stems back to mother and father wounds, especially mother wounds, right? When a boy grows up with an emotionally unavailable mum that's inconsistent with love and doesn't get the consistent love and nurturing that he needs as a little boy, it's fucking confusing, right? Because love is we will do everything and anything in our power to receive love as a little boy or a little girl, because receiving love from our parents actually means survival, right? Our nervous systems, biologically, we are wired to seek love. We are actually, to a degree, dependent on, being in partnership with with a partner, right? And we're wired that way. This is where attachment styles come in, based on, we needed that to survive. Because if we didn't have that attachment, if we didn't have that seeking of love and nurturing from our caregivers growing up, then who was going to look after us as a baby? Like, we're actually wired for that. And when we don't get that consistent love and nurturing, it's confusing. And children are narcissistic, right? Right. And we have to be. Yeah. And man, that's something we could definitely open into. But yeah, like, as children, we're narcissists. Like, everything, the whole world revolves around us because it needs to, for our survival. Because if we don't get that love, that nurturing, then we can't take care of ourselves. And yeah, like I said, when a boy or a girl doesn't get that, it's confusing. And as a little boy or a little girl, that narcissistic trait of the egoic need to everything revolves around me, we then make a lot of things mean things about us. We're just making machines from a very, very, very young age. And when a little boy or little girl is receiving or not receiving the love that they need, right, or this inconsistent nurturing from mum or dad, then they make it mean things about them. right? Well, obviously, if mum's not giving me this consistent nurturing that I know that I need, then this obviously means that I'm not worthy enough or good enough for love. So I must become someone else. I must become whoever I need to be. This is where we start shape-shifting ourselves and becoming whoever the fuck we need to be in order to actually receive love. This is where people step away from who they actually are, their full, true, authentic expression from the youngest age. From the age of 5 years old, bro, I stepped away from me, from who I actually am. And I've never actually known who I am. My whole, majority of my life has been a lie, has been me trying to be someone that I'm not in order to be accepted, for approval, because I never actually felt worthy enough of being loved. And I never felt good enough because, that love was inconsistent. And then from a young age, when we experience that, for example, at the age of 5 years old, our nervous system, right? This is emotional trauma, by the way. This is developmental trauma, right? As you grow up, this inconsistent love and nurturing is traumatic for you as in your nervous system. Then we make all these beliefs, and our nervous system needs to find information in our environment to reaffirm back to us what's familiar, because what's familiar is safe for our nervous system. So we then go throughout our whole life finding all the pieces of evidence and information to refer back to us to confirm the core belief that we have about ourselves, that I'm not worthy or good enough to be loved just as I am. Yeah. And then we have all of these pieces of evidence our whole entire fucking life to prove to us that that is true. So then we want to go start the relationship, start the business, right? And we there's no self-trust there. There's no I wholeheartedly trust and know that I can figure this out and make it work. It's self-doubt, it's worry, it's self-criticism. You get into a relationship that you don't feel worthy of being in. And then you block yourself from actually receiving that love because you don't feel worthy enough of actually that love coming in, right? And these are all the things that tend to happen as a flow-on effect from stepping away from your core truth at such a young age. And another crazy thing that happens when we do this is that when you really think about it, if you're, let's say, I'm just using 5 because this is when it really started to shift for me, right? And I'll go into it a bit more in a minute, but basically, if you think about this, your core, so who you truly are and your true essence, your true expression of love, when you step away from that to become someone who you're not, you're steering away from who you actually are, which is the deepest level of disrespect to who you actually are. So many people, they think they lack discipline, but they actually lack self-respect because they've stepped away from who they truly are for so long. And they're living this life out here that's separate from them. And it's this big incongruence where there's no alignment. Everything's like a grind. Everything is, truly unaligned with who they actually are. They lack discipline. They lack motivation. They lack inspiration. They lack the ability to fully open themselves, receive and give love equally. And I believe it stems from from such a young age, stepping away from your own integrity. And integrity being like the living with integrity of your heart, which is like being, the analogy I use when I'm coaching clients is like when you go bowling and you put up like the guardrails. Yeah. And it's like the guardrails, you're putting up the guardrails and it's being within the guidelines and the guardrails of your deepest truth of your heart and staying connected to that and living within the guardrails of your deepest truth. And so one of the biggest issues that I find that I've experienced myself is stepping away from such a young age. I lost so much respect in myself and on a deep unconscious level. And it's taken a lot of connection and cultivating a relationship within myself to actually experience what life is like living here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot to go into with that, but a lot of that is just, I think that's going to touch with a lot of people, and a lot of that related with me. And I know with the inner child stuff and the things when you grow up and how they transpire into adulthood, and then you become conscious of it all. At first, it may seem a bit daunting, like, shit, I've got so much to work on. But if you really just, you think like it's best to really just be able to look at it in the perspective of, all right, I'm going to work on this now, I'm going to work on this, instead of trying to fix everything at once. Because I know some people try and be like, let's do this 100 miles per hour, they're revving the engine at full speed, instead of just getting into first gear, getting into second, getting into third, and making it a journey.
Yeah, this is the toxicity within the personal growth space of a lot of people are going to the events, doing the healing, doing it all from a place of still feeling lack of, I'm not good enough, so I need to keep healing, keep changing, keep transforming, keep, yet again, as I shared, becoming this person outside of us. Right? Most people believe, and I believe for so long, especially in relationship, and I know a lot of men experience this, where they feel that they need to become this man that they believe other people want them to be, especially their woman. Yeah. And by doing that, you will never get there, right? Because it's not outside of us. Like I did a really deep breathe a few months ago, and it was one of those big, like, cathartic releases where it was just through my whole body. I was just fucking laughing so much.
The best ones.
Yeah. It just hit me, every cell in my body. And I just said out loud, I was like, who I'm trying to become is already who I am. And my whole life has been this becoming, instead of just being in my own home, coming back home to me, living there, and being the full expression of that. Because, like, everything that people love about me, or everything that I have been trying to become for so long, is legit already who I actually am at my core. And it's just being a more full expression of that. And it's the delusion of separation that I thought it was this thing outside of me, but it was actually just cultivating and growing it within me, and then being the full expression of it. Yeah.
It makes sense why there's like an identity crisis in the world, why so many people feel lost, because they are fulfilling other people's values and beliefs, and they haven't even discovered their own. So instead they're fulfilling everyone else and what they want, but they haven't actually came back to their heart and audited their own self to figure out, what is it I truly want? You know, whether it's beliefs, values, or even adopting other people's goals.
Yeah.
Sometimes someone will, an example, see someone get a certain health goal and they think that's exactly what they want because they like the model of what they look like. But instead it's like, wait, that person's a weightlifter, but what really fulfills me is running and endurance. But they feel disconnected, and they may think, oh, I don't like doing exercise because it's not for me.
Yeah.
Or maybe because you haven't identified which form of it really relates to you and what your goals are. And the same thing is with values as well. You know, a lot of people could be in a position or maybe a workplace that doesn't fulfill their values, and they're constantly not feeling fulfilled all the time. And then that relates back to their personal life. That causes more troubles for them, and then that exceeds into the people around them. Yeah. And then that creates more of a disconnect. Yeah. So in the world we are in now, it feels like there is a big identity crisis because of those three elements.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the work I do with people is what I call discovering, right? Actually discovering all of the beliefs, the programming, the conditioning, the trauma, all of the things that we've stacked onto us and covered our full expression. It's like, I'm not sure if you know, but in Thailand, there's the golden Buddha.
No, I haven't heard
right?
of it. Yeah.
The golden Buddha. The story of this is that hundreds of years ago, there were, I'm not sure who was invading the country, but there was invaders coming into the country of Thailand, and there's this big golden statue Buddha, which is true. It's still there today. Yeah. And what they did was they covered it in mud. They covered it up. They stacked on piles and piles of mud so you couldn't see the golden Buddha. They just thought it was a mountain. They just thought it was a big, like a rock or something, right? And then a few hundred years later, like as it's eroded a little bit, someone came across it that was like, wow, what's that like shiny thing? holy shit. And they started digging it through and discovering this golden Buddha, this essence, this magnificent, powerful thing that's been created that was covered to protect it. And this is what so many people have done with their heart.
It's a great analogy.
Yeah. And so what tends to happen when people start beginning their healing journey and we start discovering their own golden Buddha is that their values start to change, their beliefs start to change, their identity starts to shift, but it starts shifting into who they actually fucking are, right? And it starts shifting away from who they were conditioned or programmed to be, right, to who they were actually born to be, and actually becoming the expression of who they were actually born to be, right? I was a carpenter working on the job site for so long, trying to be someone who I thought people wanted me to be, this successful tradie, this hard worker that worked so physically hard, more than anyone else, that was doing all of these things, had the successful business, to me slowly going through this journey, this personal and spiritual development journey over the last 8 years, discovering my true power and essence. And the more I keep going in and in and in, the more it's a reflection of my outer world, right? It's like life is it's not a window, it's a mirror. Everything's reflecting back to us what's happening within us. So if you're feeling unaligned, if your relationship's not where it wants to be, if you're attracting certain people into your life, if you're not making the amount of money you want to make every single month, then it's legit just a mirror of what's happening within. And the more I've really started to discover my own true essence, it's like this powerful, it's what I call the uncarved rock. There's a whole journey and story about this, but the uncarved rock is like this. It's basically the golden Buddha, right? It's this beam of light and energy and love that just wants to fucking shoot through and like be fully expressed, but it's covered in the rock and it's like slowly coming out. And you can see like rays of light coming out of the rock. Like there's a picture of it. It's beautiful. And it's chipping away at that and starting to uncover. And the more we do that, the more of an expression of just pure love and light we are. And the more incredible things start to happen in the external world, the money, the relationships, the connections, the experiences, the level of love that you can actually receive and then therefore give is phenomenal. So
connection experiences, two beautiful things there on the journey. And like you said too, like even though the Buddha was covered in mud, it's still gold. At the end of the day, the Buddha's still gold. It's just this thing that it's used to protect itself is there, And then also touching on a job site, I want to give this analogy as well because I got loads of mates of the builders and I used to be a chippy as well. So I think this analogy may hit home for a lot of people. But I love the whole concept of what you said because I never heard someone phrase it as becoming in the sense of growth and self-improvement or self-development. And think of it like this. If you're on a job site and you're like, okay, we need to build a house. You then go, bang, house is built. You're like, no, there's the process. First, you got to get, the concretes in, then you got to get the chippies in, and then maybe you got to get the roofers on, then the brickies, and then all slowly the pieces come together, and eventually the house is built. But then when the house is built, you got to go in and decorate the inside and put all the pieces on the inside. So it's not like something that happens so quickly, but you should really, really be inspired by the journey like you're talking about earlier, because the people you meet on the journey, the person you see yourself becoming on the journey, far exceeds the end result within itself because the amount of things you learn and experience on the journey is so beautiful.
Yeah, brother. And as I know to be true for you, like the people you have around you and the people I have around me as well, like, looking back now, it's like, that's what it's all about. Yeah, it is all about all those people. And we will only be able to vibrationally attract these kinds of people into our life when we're at that frequency ourselves. So I love that you use that analogy about the house as well. It's like the foundations. I see the foundations being the golden Buddha. Like it's there already. Like we were born perfect, right? 1 in 400 trillion chance of us being born, and we were fucking chosen. Like we were the best swimmers. And the fact that we're here today, like if that's not a miracle in itself, I don't know what is. So I think we have pretty phenomenal foundations to begin with. Yeah. And it's just coming back to those foundations and recognizing them, seeing them, and then building from them again up. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is a miracle, eh? Because like if you look at the human existence in terms of like a 24-hour clock for how long the universe has been, I guess, created, human existence is at 11:59 p.m., 59 seconds, 0.9999. So like in terms of like the clock, like the miracle that we've even existed in this massive scale of time is a beauty within itself. And that's why I love just being able to experience life and actually enjoying the journey. If me and you could click our fingers and be at the end result, we wouldn't be here right now connecting and making the impact we are on a daily basis. But it's the journey that's bringing us here. It's the journey that's getting us to these places. The journey that's making the impact on the way and really being able to inspire other people as well as inspiring ourselves.
Yeah, brother. And the soul's true path and mission and essence is growth and evolution. The soul is wanting to, like the human experience, right? It's like we're a soul having a human experience. That soul is wanting to experience itself, which is the universe. Yeah. So we are literally the universe experiencing itself through the body of a human. And so when we connect to that and realize that we are a soul in a human body that's wanting to just experience itself, the more we allow it to experience itself, so living with integrity of our soul, that's where things really start to flourish and grow. Like, the more I've connected and lived in alignment with my soul, the most unexplainable things have happened, like within business, within relationships, within experience. Like, dude, I've gone from, like, if you're a tradie listening to this, you know the grind every single day. Like, you don't believe anything's possible outside of the job site, right? I remember working on the job site, like 40-degree heat in the sun every day. I dropped out of school super early. There was no way in chance I was going to university. None of that was happening. I failed my whole way through school. That was it for me, bro. Yeah. I was like, this is fucking it. Like, I can't go back to school now. Like, this is my life. And to recognize like what I've now created from that, the life I've created from that, the relationships, the experience. Like, I was living in Bali last year, like building a multi-six-figure company, working with people all over the world, transforming their lives, seeing the impact I'm now creating with those people. It's like, it's unexplainable. Yeah. But the only thing that I can explain is me being with integrity of my soul and allowing that to just keep expressing itself and experiencing it as much as it possibly can. And if that's the true key, I guess, expression or objective of soul, soul being consciousness, it's going to reward us the more we live in alignment with it. Yeah. Right? So the more we actually are the expression of it, the more it's wanting to keep experiencing itself. Okay. This is giving and receiving, right? This is the paradox. This is the polarity, right? When, as one of my mentors, Dr. John DeMartini, speaks on, right? The greatest source of suffering is when we're trying to live in a one-sided world when we actually live in a two-sided reality. There's two sides to everything. Polarity, right? Hot, cold, left, right, up, down, positive, negative, right? When we start recognizing that and seeing that and being the expression of our own dark shadow and light shadow and living with integrity of the soul, it wants to, it's the giving and receiving. Yeah,
once
it's a natural flow.
It gives it back to us.
Yes.
It's so true, because I've seen, when you do live with alignment, I've seen that a lot in my life. Like, you could quote it as miracles happen. I'm like, how the fuck did this happen? But then you reflect back and you're like, it's because I've done this, because I'm living more integrous, it's because I'm actually connecting to my soul purpose, you know? Yeah. And the thing is, like, if you look at the scale of life, let's just say life expectancy is 100, and it takes you 3 to 5 years to create this change. In the actual grand scheme of things, 3 to 5 years is such a short period of time compared to your whole life, what change you can truly create. Sometimes it can take way less than 3 years. Sometimes it can take 3 years, depending on your journey, mentors, and how you actually go through the process. But the thing is, like, I lost my train of thought now. The thing is that with the scale of time and being able to, what was it saying? By the fart moment now. Oh, yes, exactly. Yeah. So whether it takes you 3 years, 5 years or shorter, what I think people do is they underestimate what they can do in the long term and they overestimate what they can do in the short term. So instead, they put so many expectations in the next 2 months. Like, this is what I'm going to do. These are my goals. 60 days. They don't get there and then they repeat their old habits. Instead, being like, no, this is something that's going to take a while. And let's just stay consistent over a certain period of time and really connect with myself over this certain period of time. Then you will see these things manifest. But you got to look long term. Like, it's a life journey. Like, it's going to be for the rest of your life. That's a beautiful thing because you're going to be connected to yourself for the rest of your life if you continue on it.
Yeah, brother. Man, I can't agree more. And that's something I've been really good at. Delayed gratification and consistency.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people know me, know that I'm the most consistent motherfucker there is. Like one task over a long period of time, like I'm all over that. Yeah. Man, my journey, like looking at that as well, like, you know, being a carpenter, being in that life, I knew it wasn't going to happen overnight. But based on what I experienced as an athlete, you know, growing up racing motocross, what I experienced doing a carpentry apprenticeship, right? I knew that me stepping into living in alignment with my heart and creating this life that I actually want to live, it's like a house. It's like an apprenticeship. Like I fucking knew I'm not going to get on the job site on the first day and be able to know how to build this freaking multi-million-dollar architecturally designed, crazy, angled, ridiculous house, right? I'm going to have no idea. And it's going to be experience. It's going to be time. It's going to be learning. It's going to be failing. It's going to be making mistakes. And I was willing to do that. And when I stepped away from carpentry, I stepped away from that life completely. I was working in a bottle shop.
Yeah.
I went from a 6-figure business, you know, like being someone of, I guess, like status to the level of humility to go, look, man, I don't like, as long as I'm happy, as long as I'm living in alignment with my heart and going after that, cool. I know that working in a bottle shop is going to be a stepping stone while I build my clientele base. And it was 5 years, bro. It was that, you know, 5 years of working on the gym floor, selling myself on the gym floor, creating content, posting every single day, you know, messaging clients, messaging, you know, strangers, right? Sending, you know, at one stage for about a 2-year period, I was sending about 30 to 50 messages to complete strangers every single day, getting rejected.
Yeah.
And I was just like failing for 5 years. Yeah. And after 5 years, I then was able to build a 6-figure coaching business where I am now, you know, I learned all the skills. But not only that, it was more as I shared the journey of discovering my true expression and becoming more and more and more an expression of that. Yeah. And then people resonating more and more and then being more inspired by the man that I was becoming. And that's, yeah, bro, it's been a journey and still is a journey. Like the journey will never be, and it's not like I'm seeking for it to be complete. I understand that I'm a soul living in a human body, and there is the human experience that is relative as well. And I'm going to allow myself to experience the fucking human and the emotions and struggle and frustration and all the things that come with being a fucking human. And yeah, I'm all for it. I'm here for it all. Like I'm here to express and feel it all. So I think to sum all of that up, I have a far greater vision and reason and a far stronger pull as to why I do the deep inner work, as to why I do the level of commitment that I have towards me in myself being my purpose, right? Because this is actually one thing that actually flows from this conversation is purpose. You know, so many people are wanting purpose and it's for whoever's listening that you'll understand what I mean. Like, you know, purpose is, we're all seeking it. We all need it. And it is our number one objective as humans, actually, purpose. Yeah. And what I mean by that is most people think their purpose is this thing outside of them. It's this mission. It's this business, this company. Maybe it's a career path. That's not your purpose, right? I'm wanting to change the definition of purpose for people to recognize they are their purpose. We are our greatest purpose. Our golden Buddha is our purpose. Yeah. That is that true essence, the true essence of who we actually are at our core is our purpose. How we then channel that into the world is then our mission. And that's what most people think their purpose is. And they're looking for that, yet they haven't yet looked within first. And that's where they keep going wrong. That's why this thing outside of them is such a grind and such a struggle. Or they do it for 5 years. Maybe they are successful, but they become unfulfilled because they think this purpose is there. But it's actually being the full expression of your deepest self and then channeling that into the world.
People, that's so true. Because I feel like people do confuse mission and purpose. So they live a mission thinking that's their purpose, but instead the mission is actually just the action behind the purpose. And you actually do the work within.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, and the more I keep coming back home to myself, it's interesting. The more my physical mission, the work that I do with people all over the world grows. Yeah. The more impact I have, the more clients start dropping into my field and start becoming aware of the work that I do, right? The more that I go within. It's as I shared, like life is a mirror, not a window, right? It's a reflection of what's happening within, and your purpose and your mission. The thing outside is a direct reflection of what's happening.
So true. And I feel like that is such a humbling, but also great feeling, and knowing when you know that the world is a reflection of yourself. Because instead of like having hate towards people, having negative judgment towards people, or whatever it is, instead you look at someone else and it can kind of feel calming, because it's like, how does that resonate with me? And how can I learn to accept that? How can I learn to process that? How can I learn to regulate that, depending on what the reflection is? But when you bring it back to yourself, it really gives you that sense of control. Then when you have that sense of control, you feel certain that you can do something about it.
Yeah, brother. Yeah. And yeah, there's a deep level of responsibility here. When we recognize that everything is a reflection of us, there's a massive responsibility there, because now you're aware of it, right? Once you're aware of something, you're either choosing it, right? Or you're changing it, right? And that takes a deep level of ownership and humility. Man, one of the biggest key traits that I continue to carry forward is to have this like level of humility that I don't give a fuck. I am willing to look like an idiot. I am willing to put myself out there. I'm willing to be judged, right? A level of humility that's not like, haha, look at you, like pointing the finger and laughing at you. It's like the humility of, I am willing to accept that I might not know everything, and I'm willing to receive help from someone else who might be able to get me or help me get to where I want to go or be. And I think that's one of the biggest traits that I've really been able to embody is having that. And this then is also the when I shared the work with Dr. John D. Martini, living a one-sided life and a two-sided reality. Right? When you're living, it's like, if you're watching the video right now, it's like looking at the palm of my hand. It's like, this is the life I live. And what happens is when we live a one-sided life, we identify with it. It's subjective. You now identify with this one side. But then when we recognize that there's another side to it, we start to see it objectively. We go, okay, I see the good and the bad. I see the positive, the negative, and then actually when we get to this point, there is no good or bad. There just is. There just is. Now, here's the thing, especially in the personal development world, and this is something I was so caught up for so long. I was looking at the one side of and if you're watching the video, it's like the one side of my hand, right? I was looking at this for so long, and that was the dark shadow. that everyone's trying to heal, that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, the all this shit, the dark shadow. And that's what so many people are so focused on healing. And yeah, absolutely, right? That's going to very much dictate who you are as a person. But remember, there's two sides to everything. Yeah. A lot of people actually neglect what I call the golden shadow, right? The golden shadow is that golden Buddha that we have within us that wants to come through and shine through. And when we see that, we start to recognize that, coming back to what we were speaking to around everything outside of us is a reflection of what's happening within. Everything we see outside of us, we only see it because it is within us. If it wasn't within us, it wouldn't exist for us. We wouldn't actually be able to see it. Now, if you need to listen to that again, so you get it, like keep going back and listening to that because it's really important. Because what happens is when there's people out there that you put on a pedestal, and I know a lot of people do this, a lot of men do this in relationship. I have this incredible woman. She's so freaking amazing. She does all these things for me. She's so amazing. And puts her on a pedestal, neglects all the bad, right? What we tend to do going through life is when we look at people that inspire us, and I know this is true for a lot of people that compare themselves to people, especially on social media, right? Flicking through and comparing yourself to where other people are at in their journey. The only reason that you see those traits in them, whether it's someone that you see on social media, like, wow, they're so beautiful. Wow, they're so successful. I love how much of a fucking go-getter this guy is. Look at this dude's mindset. He's unstoppable. The only reason you see that is because it's within you and you haven't yet owned it within yourself yet. And then when we see, so this is the golden shadow. This is seeing that and going, fuck, okay, I only see that because it's actually within me. If it wasn't within me, I wouldn't see it. And the reason and the fact that I actually see it means that this thing that I'm inspired by is actually me being inspired by the thing that's within me that I haven't yet fully owned. And this is what really gets to happen. The more we come back home to ourselves, allow that golden Buddha to shine through, we get to recognize the incredible parts about ourselves as well. And it doesn't all have to be about the shit and the healing. And this is the healing, right? It's being able to actually, what I call seeing yourself through the eyes of who you actually fucking are, through the deepest part of you and through your true essence from when, you know, you're a child fully expressed as your true essence, as that before you shaped yourself to be someone who you needed to be in order to receive love, acceptance, validation, and approval. Yeah.
I love how you said, like, the world is just happening as it is. Like, either way, the world's going to happen, and not everything's the same in terms of perspective. And what I mean by that is when you're talking about, say someone who has a certain physique and one person's inspired by it and the next person's thinking, oh, he's a cockhead. At the end of the day, the thing is what it is, but two different people have different perspectives because they have different maybe relationships to that, or they have different values to that, or they're on different journeys with their own self with that as well. And one person's inspired by it and the other person's insecure about it. But the thing is, the external thing is happening regardless. It's just a reflection on yourself is what truly determines and how you feel or relate towards that.
Yeah. And in that scenario situation, if a person is like, wow, look at that dude's physique, like, fuck. One person's like that, and then the other person's like, yeah, look at that douchebag. Yeah, he looks like an idiot. Like who, you know, what a loser. Like, look at him, like putting himself out there, right? The judging, right? It's recognizing that you're only judging that person because also those things are within you that you have not yet loved within yourself. So everything that we see in our external world that we judge, that we have opinions on, that we either shame or put down or see as negative, are things that we have not yet loved within ourselves, because yet again, it wouldn't exist if it wasn't within us, right? And it's being able to be a full expression of your deepest self, of your true essence, is being able to love the good and the bad, the dark shadow and the golden shadow. It's being able to, remember, if we're living in a one-sided life and a two-sided reality, like there's the polarity within the body, right? Within ourselves. And this is, you know, then stems into the masculine and feminine as well, and the wounds around the masculine and feminine. Yeah.
I'm taking a minute or a second for gratitude here, because I absolutely love just podcasting, like having the space where we can have these conversations. Because like being able to have two men sit down and talk, and for you to share your wisdom and your trials and tribulations, and also what you've succeeded at, and mold together in the format where the world can hear it. Like I'm very grateful in the time we're living in now, and that's a miracle within itself. If you are enjoying today's episode, if you could please leave this podcast a rating, it would mean so much in terms of helping this podcast grow, reaching a larger audience, and getting this message out there. Without further ado, let's return back to the show.
Yeah, I feel that.
I want to ask you, brother, like in terms of moments, because I know I get this question a lot with myself. People ask me, I get caught up in the emotion and I can't disconnect from it to see it objectively. Like, how do you really disconnect from like a situation that's happening so you can really observe it, or maybe sit with the feeling itself, or to truly realize what this situation really means? But how do you really disconnect from being so caught up in the moment, or caught up in being a victim of the moment?
Yeah, brother. The breath.
Yeah. Rah.
The breath, the remote control to the nervous system.
So simple, but it's so effective.
Yeah. Yep. And yeah, brother, like the amount of, it's been a journey connecting and discovering like my true essence and living in alignment with my deepest truth. And it's taken a lot of practice to be able to actually tune into that part of me and to be able to connect with it. You know, sometimes it takes me a while. It takes me a couple of hours to actually wind down, get out of my head into my body, to actually connect with my true self. Sometimes it'll take a breath, to just one breath and connect to that. But it's been a journey of me cultivating that relationship with the deepest part of me. Yeah. And the breath for me now is actually it's like a trigger. Mm. It's like an anchor. Yeah. When I take a breath, I'm walking back home. Right, I'm walking through the front door.
That's a great way to view it.
Yeah, I'm coming back home, and like I said, sometimes I'm a little further away from home than usual. Yeah. Sometimes I'm right there. I'm just just got to take a few steps and walk in the front door. But from that place, tuning into that place, listening from there, making decisions from there, is how I really try and live my life. Right, as I shared before. And I haven't actually shared this. There's 3 levels of integrity, right? The first is physical, right? The holding your physical body. It's your breath. It's your gaze. It's like your level of grounding, right? The next one's emotional, right? And emotional is living with integrity of your heart and connecting with the deepest part of you. And where this shows up is especially in relationships, right? Living out of emotional integrity is actually not knowing who you are at your core. And here's the thing, like there's so many relationship coaches like teaching, setting boundaries, like understanding core needs and stuff like that. You don't know what you fucking need if you haven't met the depth of yourself. You can't communicate needs. You can't have a standard for yourself and for the relationship if you don't know who you are at your core.
What you truly need.
Yes. Not from a wounded place, right? So this is where the more we start to discover the heart, discover our true essence, the more we start to discover our true core needs that we need, and we can live in alignment with that. This is not just needs in relationship, but needs in how you show up, in needs or recognizing when you're actually stepping away from here, right? So the more we actually start living within integrity of the deepest part of us, we start to actually have the ability to recognize when we're either stepping away from ourselves based on the ego to keep ourselves safe from a place of survival and fear, right? Living in fear, which is extremely low frequency, low vibration. And that's what you're going to keep attracting if that's where you live, right? And it's coming back to, and it's building that relationship with knowing where you're at. And so what I'm getting at is that the more we cultivate this depth and this relationship with our true essence, the more we do the deep inner healing, we connect with the inner child. This is the biggest journey I've been on. It's been phenomenal. It's it's been so beautiful is connecting with him, little boy. But the more we connect with that, the more we can actually discover what our core needs are in alignment with who we actually are. So then to answer your question about like stepping back for a moment, it's through the breath, I'll check in with my heart. Okay, what do you need? You know, what is it that you need most right now? How can I support you right now? How do you feel about this right now? And the more I connect with that, the more I can go, okay, this is what I need moving forward. This is what I need most right now in this moment. Maybe it's, I need a few minutes to just check in with myself. Maybe it's, this relationship, this business partnership, this whatever, this exchange of whatever I'm experiencing. It's not actually aligned with my core truth. And as long as we're living a life that's unaligned, things are going to be tough. And the more we can be within that is where it's like the snowball effect of also cultivating this deep inner self-trust and integrity with ourselves. The more we actually live from that place.
So true, especially with the relationship part of it, because the best relationships you'll have with your significant other is when you have the best relationship with yourself. And when you build that first, rather than finding a partner to try and quote unquote save you or quote unquote heal parts of you, or they may fulfill something that you don't have. Because I know I've been there, I know a lot of men relate with looking for a woman to heal parts of them. But instead, when you heal parts of yourself first and you build that good relationship with yourself and you connect to your heart and you do all the things that we touched on earlier, the relationship that you manifest from that is one of the most beautiful things that you can have. And I know that within myself, because I used to be the victim, blame game, everyone else. But one thing that changed my life, I listened to Nipsey Hussle, and he was talking about a book, which you'll know, called The Way of the Superior Man by David Dida. And this is years ago, before I even got into like personal development and self-improvement and whatnot. And I listened to the book and I was like, holy shit, I didn't even know this information even existed out there, things like this. And what that book really taught me was, yes, the masculine and feminine, but also the relationship with myself. And the reason why I haven't been attracting what I wanted in life in terms of partner was because it was me, not anything else. So once I started putting in the work and myself, doing all the things that we've touched on, I then manifested my current partner. And that relationship has been so beautiful. It's because of the journey I continue on within myself.
Yeah, man. And there's so much out there. Like, dude, on my journey, I was like, fuck. Like, and looking back now, I know why I felt this way. But it was like, I didn't actually know what it felt like or what it looked like to actually love myself. And I didn't see the importance of it because for so long, from the age of 5 years old, I stepped away from who I truly was because I didn't think it was worthy enough to be loved. And by stepping away from that, I stepped away from who I was and then lived a whole life incongruent with my true self. So everything we're speaking to around the discovering your core, the doing the deep inner healing, like removing the layers, being a full expression of that. This is self-love. And then the more you start to cultivate that experience what we're speaking to this whole episode is this is what it looks like to be in a relationship with yourself first. And what's really interesting is that a lot of people, and like you shared, like a lot of people get into a relationship for all the wrong reasons. They think it's the right reasons. They're like, I really love this person. I feel the attraction. It's all these things. But within their nervous system, the attraction, the thing that they're actually attracted to is the wounds they haven't yet healed within themselves. Because we will keep attracting partners into our life that reflect back to us what we haven't yet healed within ourselves, because the wounds that they reflect back to us is actually what is safe for our nervous system. What's familiar is safe, even if it hurts, even if it's going to destroy you in a relationship. For example, and I'll share from my past experience, right? From the age of 5 years old, I never felt that I was good enough or worthy enough to be loved for who I was. So I needed to be a certain way. and I never felt good enough. So then being in relationship, I then attracted partners that were emotionally unavailable, that couldn't give me the love and nurturing that I needed, that then reflected back to me. Well, yeah, see, I'm not good enough. And that's what was familiar for me, for my nervous system. Yeah. Even though it hurt, even though it was like, yeah, at a deep core subconscious level, that's what I thought I was worthy of. And the more we start cultivating this depth and relationship with ourselves and discovering all the shit, then we start to recognize our real self-worth and what that actually looks and feels like in a relationship. And what I'm starting to begin now, like, you know, opening myself again to love, going through what I've been through in the last 4 or 5 months, is that the healthiest relationships are normally the ones where you don't get that feeling, that butterfly feeling when you see them. Oh, there's just something about them. Oh, I'm so attracted to them. Oh, there's this thing. Because most people, what they think is attraction is actually their nervous system giving them the first warning signs that this person is reflecting back to you your deepest wounding. If that makes sense. So it's like, people in the dating world, it's being super mindful of that. You know, the healthiest relationships, I feel, are the ones that you build and that you choose to build and cultivate. It's not the ones that are like the most, you know, the emotions are the most heightened, and there's this crazy spark and this unreal twin flame fucking connection. Maybe that is your nervous system trying to tell you that there's something within this person that's familiar based on what I experienced as a child.
Do you believe in relationships, still the best relationship you can have is the one with yourself, even in the relationship?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's with me, like, I make sure that in terms of relationships, because I got a fiance, but I still make sure my relationship with myself is priority. Because if I do that, then my relationship with my partner is going to be an example or a reflection of that, because of what I'm working on or who I'm becoming or who I am or what I sit with myself. So I feel like if I give the best to me, everyone around me will receive that best version of me too. Yeah,
it's selfish if you don't.
Yeah.
Because you must be able to be with yourself fully, like to then be with someone fully, right? And I think it's once people, especially men, wholeheartedly commit to themselves first and be with themselves first. And when I say be with themselves, I mean be with the deepest fucking emotions that they have not yet tapped into or felt in their entire life. And it's not a matter of if it's there, it's what's there and what do you need to process, right? And it's sitting with that. It's recognizing the both sides, the dark and the golden shadow. Once a man has really been able to actually sit with that and cultivate that, like, I don't believe that he's fully, wholeheartedly available for someone. But with that, it is part of the journey too, right? Because here's the thing, there will be constant invitations in that relationship for him to awaken into his greatest purpose. The divine feminine in its true expression will be a threat to a man who hasn't yet healed his trauma. The divine feminine, like a true awakened woman, will initiate and provide all of these invitations for a man to actually step into his power. And those invitations will look like triggers for him. Things that he is annoyed by with her full expression. Whether it's her, and I know a big one is what she wears, right? Her wearing clothes that are either too revealing or something like that. That the feminine is the expression of however it wants to fucking express itself, right? And if that's a trigger for you as a man, then you're lacking the capacity to be able to hold the full expression of the feminine and to love them where they're at unconditionally, like with no conditions. And here's the thing. The reason people get so attached to, for example, and this was me, the reason I know all of this stuff is because I fucking lived it, was if my partner would wear something and it would trigger the shit out of me, I'm like, wow, that's like so revealing. Like all of these guys are looking at her, like my own insecurities, is because I was so attached to this woman outside of me. I had placed so much of my value on her, right? That if, and here's what happens when we're attached to something outside of us, that attachment signifies like a part of us. It's if we're attached to it, then we're getting benefits from it, and we will anything that threatens that attachment to change is a threat to us. So, for example, in that scenario, that situation, you're attached to this partner, and it's like you're fearful or insecure about what she wears, what she does on a day-to-day basis, who she hangs out with, and all of that. You're attached to the possibility of who she could be in your life. You're attached to this fantasy of who you think she actually is. Instead of allowing her to just be her full expression, and for you to just be in your own frame of energy, right? Then anything that threatens that attachment will threaten your own nervous system as a man. So, when my partner would wear certain things, it was a threat to me. Yeah. When men would look at her, it was a threat to me. When she would go away for a few days to go to a personal development event, even though I work in the industry, it was a threat to me. Anything that threatened her changing in some sort of way, because what it actually at a core level is, it's shifting the attachment that I have, which is a threat to my nervous system. And this is the abandonment wound at play. Yeah. This is that core wound of that fear of being alone, that fear of being abandoned, that fear of not being good enough or worthy enough. And I know so many men suffer with this, and then they end up becoming either nice guys, people pleasers, completely self-sacrifice and abandon themselves, or nothing's ever good enough for them. Yeah.
When it comes back to like we're talking about earlier, it's all a mirror. Life's not a window, it's a mirror. Especially in relationships, when your partner does something that triggers you, the thing is that triggered you. So what is it within you that you need to look at?
Yeah. Yeah.
Love this episode, brother.
Yeah. There's, and this really stems back to the inner child work. Yeah. I think this is an important thing for us to touch on, because, there's the quote, heal the boy and the man will appear. When men go within, and if they don't go within, they go without. But when they go within and feel the pain that's on their heart and allow themselves to be the full expression of who they truly are and align themselves in their life with their highest gifts, then he'll continue his whole life as a little boy that's constantly being triggered, that's constantly fearful, he's not good enough, that's constantly operating from a place of need or lack or frustration or doubt or insecurity. What I believe it means to be a true man, once he's healed the boy, is for a man to be a pillar within himself, the immovable rock, the unshakable, the unfuckwithable man who is in his own frame of energy, who doesn't need a woman to validate his self-worth, who doesn't need a certain amount of money to prove to other people that he's worthy enough in order to actually get love. And it's all to receive acceptance, approval, and love, right? Yeah. And a great way to explain this is that immovable, unfuckwithable energy that a man cultivates when he heals the little boy is like the big, tall tree that stands in the forest that's been there for hundreds of years, right? And as Carl Jung once said, a tree cannot reach to heaven if its roots have not yet reached down to hell. Remember the polarity, right? The two-sided. Yeah. And what it means to reach your roots down to hell, I mean, what I feel it means is to become deeply rooted and tapped into your core essence, your heart, to really discover who you actually are as a man at your core, and to allow yourself to experience and to feel the pain, the trauma, and the wounding that you experienced as a little boy. Once a man can do that and really become rooted in that and ground himself in that, he becomes unstoppable.
Yeah.
And then the tree will grow to its full fucking potential.
Yeah.
Right?
And with those roots as well, you may start with the soil soft and mushy, and the roots can easily grow towards the heart. Then you're going to hit a big rock. And it's like, okay, now we've got to try and work around the rock and get over that road, that speed bump. Then the next one's like, all right, now it's soft again. Oh, now the soil's getting really hard and dense. How are we going to get through here?
Yeah.
So, you're going to face that along the way. But it's getting through those challenges what is actually going to make us stronger.
Yeah. And you look at, or here in Australia, we've got gum trees.
Yeah.
Look at gum trees, bro. Any little fucking storm that comes through, they fall over because their roots are really, really shallow. Their roots are surface level, but wide. They don't go deep.
Yeah.
And this is what happens when men get into a relationship, they get into a business, but especially relationship, their roots aren't deep, they're wide. So any storm of the feminine knocks the tree over.
Yeah.
He becomes shakeable. He becomes movable. And therefore, she can't actually depend and rely on him. He's actually dependent on her emotionally for her to show up, for him to be able to stay strong and tall. Any storm that comes through will shake it, will knock him over. So a man that's deeply rooted, who has met the depths of himself, that's reached his roots down to hell, can withstand any storm. Right. And yeah, I think it's such an incredible analogy, but also through that with the tree is, and we look out in life as nature does, nature goes through seasons. We go through seasons as humans. Every single thing in life goes through seasons. And the reason why we go through seasons is for growth. Now, if there wasn't winter, if there wasn't summer, if there wasn't spring, there wouldn't be the rejuvenation, right? And in order for us to actually allow the seasons in life to unfold and for us to actually grow and evolve, we must learn to be able to actually let go.
Yeah.
And this is letting go of the wounds, the trauma, the relationships, the business, all of it. And for us to go back into the past and let go of everything that's controlling our future moving forward, that's preventing our growth and evolution. And this is the power of healing the inner child.
And with that too, like if we didn't have winter, we wouldn't be able to appreciate summer.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's why you got to have both sides.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like it's so important. Instead of shitting on men and calling them toxic, it's important to, if we help guide men, show them the way, speak about it, be open, be vulnerable, and help men get back to alignment rather than shitting on them, belittling them, and downgrading them.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. The whole, what I see a lot of in the personal growth industry of men that are actually doing the work is the spiritual men who are the pendulum's gone far to the other way into the feminine, and they're trying to discover their true masculine core and essence in the feminine, and that's not where it's found. There's a book called Iron John, if you've read it before.
No, I'll have to check it.
Yeah, it's incredible. He speaks about in the story the key that every boy is seeking to unlock who he truly is found under the pillow of his mother. Right? Healing the mother wound. Right? And we'll go into that in a moment with healing the inner child. But healing the mother wound is disconnecting yourself from the mother, the feminine, right? The feminine being the feeling, the emotions, the being in it, the flow, the everything that comes with the feminine. It's disconnecting from trying to find your essence as a man in there. It's very important for us to be connected with that, for us to be able to actually feel, but it's not where the masculine's found. The masculine's found in the deep masculine by men discovering their inner wild man, their fucking warrior that they have within them. And most toxic masculine is men who just haven't learnt how to express their inner warrior. And they've felt so much shame to actually be an expression of their inner warrior because it's been perceived as bad. And this is why we have so many fucking nice guys walking around in the world who are just go with the flow boys, right? That just get walked over. That
stand for nothing.
Yeah, stand for nothing and just deeply untrustworthy. Is the manifestation of men who haven't, who are either trying to heal in the feminine, right, or haven't yet healed that core mother wound. Yeah,
it's like for men to heal, it's not to feminize them; it's for them to discover the root to their masculinity.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, as I shared before, heal the boy, and the man will appear. Yeah. You know, when we go back into and we recognize that there is a little 5-year-old within us. There is a little boy, a little girl that is within us. And if you don't believe me, then I'll explain it like this. When you were 5 years old, you made some core decisions, some core beliefs. You developed coping mechanisms and strategies in order to receive love, in order to be accepted, to be approved, right? It was your way of survival. And then these mechanisms, these coping strategies, these ways of behavior, this conditioning, this programming has then been how you've gone throughout your whole life. So until we go back and heal the little 5-year-old, that little 5-year-old that made those decisions back then is actually the one that's in control of our life, that's making the decisions.
Yeah.
And that little 5-year-old, that little boy, that little girl is actually the deepest part of us that was fully expressed from the get-go, that we then stepped away from, that we then started covering up. This is the golden Buddha, right? Is our inner child, is the true expression, the true essence of us that we've covered up over time. The more we tune into that, the more we tap into that, and we actually allow ourselves to go back to that period of time and allow the little boy, the little girl to feel what they weren't allowed to feel in the time that made them and shaped them into who they had to become. Yeah. Then we can go back and heal who they had to become and heal the beliefs that they created, heal the emotions that they weren't or they didn't know how to feel, right? Because as you know, on an emotional level, like emotion is just energy in motion. Yeah. Right? And it stays stored and trapped in the body until we allow ourselves to actually unplug the plug of the bath, right? And allow it to actually move. Yeah. And until we go back and connect with that little 5-year-old and allow that little boy to feel what he wasn't allowed to feel, to recreate his experience and to feel held by who we are today, to go back and to actually allow him to feel held. It's interesting. There's no separation. You going back then to hold this little 5-year-old is actually you holding yourself right now in the moment. Yeah. There's no separation. Yet we will stay stuck at that level of consciousness until we go back and hold ourselves in that. Yeah. So when we go back and heal the little boy, then in the moment, the man will appear. The man who can hold himself and his little boy emotionally, and a man that can hold himself and be in his own frame emotionally, energetically, and be an expression of his deepest truth and be with integrity of his heart and soul, is a leader that people can actually depend on. Because until then, he will be dependent on other people or other things to dictate his worth, or to dictate how he feels about himself when he's by himself. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there'd be loads of people listening to this, and I guarantee heaps of people will be like, how can I actually connect to that 5-year-old self for me? How can I sit with that? So for the people listening, like what is maybe a practice that someone could do after this podcast episode to really sit with that inner child?
Yeah. You want to do it now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So one thing I'll pre-frame here is if you really struggle to connect in with this, our egoic mind will actually block us from going into places that are painful. So if you really struggle to remember your childhood, it's probably for a reason. Your ego has built up these walls. It's like, nah, bro, we ain't going there anymore. Like, that's way too painful. So the more I've actually, the more I've done this, the younger I've actually been able to experience, because I'm like unlocking these new levels of depth within my inner child as he feels more safe over time to open to me.
Yeah.
Right. So if you struggle with being able to tune into that, then what I suggest is go find some old photos. Go find photos of your 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old self, and really sit with the photos and look at them and really feel into what was happening in this period of my life. What was happening within this time of my life? Oh, what was happening with my parents? What kind of relationship were they in? What was my world like? And really start tapping into that, and then maybe come back to this and listen to this again. Yeah. So if you're watching this, if you're listening, just closing down your eyes, just getting a nice, comfortable seated position. And first of all, just becoming aware of your breath. In through the nose, out through the nose. And while you're tapping and tuning into your breath, become aware of your feet planted to the earth. Feeling grounded, feeling this connection, feeling roots from your feet reaching all the way down to the core of the earth. So you're grounded here in your body. Once you've made this connection now, then feel the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, bringing awareness to your hips, feeling grounded in your hips. Making this connection now, becoming grounded. Now we're going to go 3 deep inhales, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Fully in. That's it, sinking, letting go more and more. Dropping more into your body, relaxing your shoulders, fully in. That's it. Now, I want you to just go back to a time that you can remember, the earliest memory that you have as a little boy or a little girl. Maybe it was at school, maybe it was at home, maybe it was a holiday. The first memory that you can think of, going back to that now, the earliest memory that you can feel and think into. Maybe it's a home that you were living in at a period of time. Thinking back to, where were you at the age of, say, 5 to 7 years old? Where were you living? What was happening within your life? What were you doing? Were you in school at the time? Were you obsessed with a certain sport? Right. What did you love doing? What was your favorite things you loved doing after school, on the weekends? Just really coming back to and tuning into a period of your life at around 5 to 6 years old. Your earliest memories. Now, seeing this little boy or little girl, I want you to see them playing or doing whatever they're doing. Whether they're at school, whether they're playing their sport, whether they're just at home, whether they're with their family, with your family. Witnessing them. And just picking one moment in time. Just choose one. I know there's lots. Just choose one and going back there now. Staying connected to your breath while you choose this moment and come back to this moment. Now, I want you to put yourself in the shoes of this little boy or little girl, this little 5-year-old boy or girl. Put yourself in the shoes of them. And just witness and feel into what's going on in this moment. And yeah, it might not make sense. Might be a very different world. Just honor and tune into what this little boy, this little girl is feeling in this moment. What's happening within their world? Now I want you to tune into what's happening within the relationship dynamic between the parents. What did you witness unfolding with your parents? How is their relationship? How did they do life? Right? Were they fighting all the time? Were they arguing about money? Maybe there was just lots of love and joy in your childhood. Maybe you didn't see them struggle. I want you to stay in the shoes of this little boy, this little girl, and tune into who did you have to be in order to receive love from your parents? What kind of love did you receive or did you not receive from your parents at this stage of your life? How did that feel? And who did you have to become? Staying connected to your breath. Standing in the shoes of this little boy, this little girl, just witnessing this unfolding through the eyes of this little 5-year-old. Imagine how confusing this was. Just being with this for a moment and becoming aware of any decisions that you made in this period of time about yourself. Any decisions that you made in order to be a certain way, to get love, attention, approval, to be accepted. Maybe it's just behaviors that you've taken on that help you get through life. Maybe there were emotions in this time that you weren't allowed to feel. Maybe you felt too much. Maybe you felt like you couldn't take up space and that your full expression was too much for the people around you. Whatever it is for you, just feeling into the emotions that are there and honoring and allowing what is there to actually move through your body. Breathing into whatever emotion is there. Maybe it's tightness in the chest, tightness in the upper back, in the shoulders, maybe in the feet, the legs. Just tuning into your body, wherever you feel this tension. Just becoming aware of all the decisions you made, the behaviors you adopted, the person that you became, the love you did or didn't receive, what you experienced within your parents in their relationship dynamic, in the way they did life, in the way that they worked, in their relationship with money, in their relationship with how they made an income and supported the family. Seeing yourself through the eyes of this little 5-year-old, witnessing all of this unfold. And I want you to step out of the shoes of the 5-year-old for a moment and just be who you are right now, looking at your 5-year-old, seeing this little boy, this little girl, witnessing this unfolding and playing out in their world. And I want you to ask them, ask this little boy, this little girl, what do you need most right now? How can I support you right now? What is it that you needed most right now in this moment? And allow them to answer you. Now, I want to ask you, how can you give that to them? How can you be that support for them? That next time they feel those emotions of sadness, of grief, of loneliness, of confusion, of frustration, of whatever it is, that you can be there to hold the little boy, the little girl in that emotion and allow them to have a space to feel heard and seen and acknowledged. And then just giving them a hug. Giving them a big hug. in through the nose, letting go. And then it's just slowly coming back to this moment, opening your eyes up again, coming back to this moment. And just taking some time to journal whatever came up for you, and just trust whatever came up. Just write it down, get it out. And this is how we start to make that connection with that little boy or little girl that wasn't allowed to, or didn't feel safe enough, or was confused by what they weren't receiving. Yeah.
That was fucking beautiful. I've never been through a process like that so in depth.
Yeah, brother.
A lot of things came up for me, if you don't mind me sharing.
I'd love to know.
First one was when you said give them a hug. That's like probably like 2 minutes building up before you said that. That was the thing I was most desperate to do. Was to hug that version of myself. As soon as I stepped out of the shoes and observed the situation, like I really wanted to do that. And the other part that came up for me as well was that a pattern that I used to do was I used to get myself in trouble all the time. But then I realized getting myself in trouble was a form of attention. And that attention meant love.
Yep. Yeah, brother. Yeah. I got expelled from school.
Yeah, same. And it makes sense like why I was doing all this madness, because I was looking for attention. I was looking for the people that I grew up with in my life just to love me.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. Yeah. And then it's looking at that, you know, like that feeling of, I just wanted to give him a hug. You know, how and where are you not giving yourself that today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely through not enough appreciation for self.
There we go. Yeah. And here's the very thing when it comes to like self-trust is like going back to that little boy, that little girl. If I asked you the question, like imagine like being in the shoes, a little boy, a little girl, and then looking at who you are today. If I asked them the question, hey, do you trust me? It's normally not really.
Yeah.
Because basically what most of us have done and imagine doing this to like an actual child. Yeah. We have locked them in the closet and fucking held it locked, and they're kicking and screaming, and you're like, no, don't, like, you stay in there. I don't want to see you. Like, I'm going to lock you in there forever. Like, I'm done with you. Stay in there. Don't come out again. Yeah. That's how most people approach it. What we're doing here is we're letting them out, and we're building a relationship with them. Yeah. And there's no separation. That part that we've locked away within ourselves is actually our deepest part that we then get to invite back into our life, build a relationship with. And this is how we cultivate self-trust on a core level.
Like a deep knowing level.
Yep.
It's like, I'm going to give an analogy. I might butcher it, but let me know if I'm connecting to your message here. But you see the videos all the time online with dogs that go into shelter or to the pound, and they're being abused, they're scared, you know, they can't go near humans. Then you see them on this Facebook video. Over time, they build a connection, they build a trust with a human. Then by the end of it, they're absolutely in love, and they got a home, they got a family. It's like that, isn't it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like that little boy, that little girl is scared to come out and connect. They're scared, they're in the shelter, they're in the closet, whatever it may be. But over time, they're starting to build love, starting to build trust. And then at the end of it, it will come to that deep knowing of just unconditional love.
Yeah, brother. Yeah. And yeah, the grass will be green where we water it, right? And like how this has shown up for me was I experienced a lot of unworthiness, this lack, this, you know, I'm not worthy for that kind of woman that I dream about. I'm not worthy of that kind of dream income, you know, making $100,000 a month. I'm not worthy of that. Like that's so far out of my reach. But what it actually was me going back and connecting with that little 5-year-old. And I asked him the question. I was like, hey bro, like, you know, like, can I be there to support you? And he said to me, clear as day, I don't trust you because you haven't been there for me. And that's me being there for me, like who I am today. Like, remember, there's no separation. So it's not just a little boy, but it's me, who I am as a man. I haven't trusted myself because I haven't been there for myself from the age of 5, because I stepped away from it thinking I needed to be someone else. And this is the power and the beauty of this work. Like this is the discovering of the core essence of who we were actually born to be. And that was already there, that we then covered up and piled all this shit on because we were taught to be a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So true, because people always look externally for the answer, but it's always within, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like people, especially when it comes to success as well, like people think success is externally, but we're already like, we're born with success. Like that 400 trillion to one stat, I think it is, of being born is the success within itself. Yeah. And now it's just fulfilling our purpose.
Yeah.
But going back to what you touched about earlier, make sure you don't confuse your mission in life with what your true core purpose is. Instead, make your mission the action of your purpose.
Yeah, the purpose being you and your deepest core truth. Yeah. And I think the biggest delusion that people live in is the illusion of separation and living in the 3D external world. Yeah, that's, if you get anything from this, it's recognizing that the more we cultivate the internal, the external is just a reflection of that. Fulfillment, happiness, success, love, joy, all of it, every part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really connecting to the soul as well. I know for people that haven't really experienced, whether it's spirituality, God, universe, soul or whatnot, it may sound woo-woo, but once you connect to that side of yourself, life does start to shift and change in such a great way, I find, because then you're disconnected from the 3D world and you're more connected with your own consciousness or your own spirit. And I was listening to a podcast and there was a doctor named Jeffrey Long, and he's a near-death experience expert. So he's done 25 years of research on near-death experience. And what every case study he has for all the people he's worked with over 25 years, they all have the exact same story that pinpoint like the exact same things that have happened within their near-death experience. So what they talked about is what happens to these people is their spirit or their consciousness comes out of their body and sees the 3D world of them dead on the floor and then whatever's happening around them or whatever caused the death. And then this light appears and beings come out of this light. And then when these beings come out of this light, they have this deep knowing of love, acceptance and everything. Like it's just absolute bliss you can imagine. And in that moment, you've got to decide whether to go with them or to return back to your body. And the people that have lived to tell the story return back to their body. Like even that within itself is like confirmation that there is spirit. There is a universe, there is a God or whatever you believe in, but there is something a lot bigger than us, which I feel like is very, it makes me just a lot more present in life because you're so less conflicted with what's happening, what already is in the world. Instead, you're more connected to yourself.
Yeah, man. And the power of letting go, the power of letting go of control, expectations of the 3D world, the 3D reality, letting go of how you, like the need for control of how you expect your journey to unfold as well. When people begin their journey working with me, I say that the number one standard is expect fucking nothing. Yeah. Expect nothing, gain everything. Let go of all of your perceived expectations coming into this work, and you're going to receive everything that you need to get out of this. Because the fact that we're having this call right now is part of your it's an invitation for you. That we're presented with invitations every single day to come back home to our deepest selves, and it's being able to listen to them. But I want to touch on what you shared about there, about what that guy he studies and what's his experience. It sounds like the release of DMT.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say, for someone that's listening to this and it's like, wow, like I don't like, I'm open to that, but I don't believe that. Go experience a DMT breathwork session, a deep breathe, and be open and let go of any expectations going into it and allow yourself to fully open and surrender to the experience of a deep breathwork journey. And you will experience what it's like to be out of your body. Because what you just experienced then is, dude, every deep breathe I've done, I have come out of my body and seen the people around me and have just witness this. And then I've also been able to not only come out of my body, but come out of my period of life and see what's happening moving forward and my past. It's like I can see all timelines, and it's something you can't explain to someone.
It's great that we're like living proof of that example as well, because it shows the possibilities that we are capable of. Yeah. Like I remember one DMT breathwork I went on. I remember because both like my mum's mum and dad passed away at a time when I was still in a position in my life that I'm not proud of. You didn't get to see this newer version of me who I'm becoming. And I remember I did a breathwork session once, and I remember everything just clicked, and I just ended up in this big white arena, like it was just a big glow on light. I remember my nan and granddad coming down. They didn't say a word to me. I remember my nan held my left hand, my granddad held my right hand, and we just sat there, and it felt like forever.
Wow.
And I just felt them like giving me energy, saying, we're so proud of you, we're watching you, we love you. And I remember sitting there just crying my eyes up. And then I woke up out of the breath work, and then I never held guilt or shame when I started myself because of that experience, with knowing that the people that I held a lot of like love to, or held a lot of myself to, but then actually were seeing me for who I am, and that helped me see me for who I truly am too. Yeah,
and feeling guilty, well, by the sounds of it, because you had this you felt that they had this expectation on you that you maybe let them down or something.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing with, and you know, in that journey we just did then, why I say like we ground down into the feet, into the hips, especially with the healing journey. This is what I call using the masculine, the healthy masculine, to actually initiate your healing journey.
Yeah.
Because what can happen, especially in deep breathe like that, and people on their spiritual journey, they allow the pendulum to go so far the other way, where they become so in their feminine of just being. And with that, they then lose they lose themselves. They lose the essence of the human. And what I do within my journeys, and what I teach people, is staying grounded in your body, yet allowing yourself to feel and experience. Because in that way, you can actually hold yourself, where it's not this uncontrollable, out of control emotion where you're actually just like, for most people, just re-traumatizing themselves, re-experiencing the same shit. It's staying grounded, staying connected, allowing yourself to feel in a way that's actually allowing you to move through those emotions and those feelings while you're holding yourself. So yeah, I think there's a difference between holding yourself in that and feeling those deep core emotions, and then also having the capacity to also experience those full out of body as well. But I think for most people that are, you know, beginning their healing journey, I think it's very important for them to cultivate that grounding within themselves while they're allowing themselves to heal and feel. Because if it's too much at once, it's overwhelming. Yeah. And men don't want to go back there. And I've experienced that within my family. Yeah. Right? I've experienced, like my dad finally slowing down, and all of the emotions, all of the trauma that he's received, that he's experienced coming from living in Africa, right? And then coming here, like all the trauma that it's just been fucking pushed away, then going on building a successful company. He then became quiet enough when he sold his company that then it all started coming up, and it was too much too soon all at once, and it was overwhelming for him. And I saw what happens when that happens, and it's scary, and it's not what you want to go through. So it's being able to hold yourself in that. Yeah.
It's like slamming on the brakes at 100 Ks an hour, you're going to get whiplash.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So I think a big takeaway from this is to allow yourself the space, the time, and actually create space to get quiet enough to actually hear what's present on your heart. Yeah. And it's probably, there was a study done where men would rather be electrocuted than sit with their own thoughts for 15 minutes.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. And
let alone if you swing the pendulum all the way to the left or all the way to the right, you become completely disconnected from what you're familiar with.
A
lot of things are going to come up.
Yeah, so it's being able to stay grounded in that during the journey and the process as well.
That's great advice, because I remember when I first started this journey, I went completely to the feminine, lost masculinity to its core, and I lost my oomph, I lost my drive, I lost a lot within me, and I became too much in this one side, and I just didn't feel purposeful anymore. I was just too much airy-fairy in the wind, and then I had to swing myself back, and then now it's like being masculine but dancing with the feminine.
Yeah. Read the book Iron John.
Yeah, that's on my wish list next on Audible.
Yeah.
Do you have any final words you'd like to give to our listeners here, or?
If you get anything from this, I think it's, as I shared before, allowing yourself to create the time and the space for you to become present with what's most true on your heart, and to trust what's there. And if you don't know where to start, it's reaching out to people like ourselves for that guidance and support to at least get pointed in the right direction as to where to go and how to start navigating that. It's, as Carl Jung says, the treasure you seek is in the cave you fear entering most. And the entrance to that cave is the heart and feeling what's there. But I can tell you right now, the greatest journey you'll ever go on is entering that cave and coming out the other side. Yeah.
The thing is, you don't have to do it alone.
No.
Ryan, thank you. Appreciate you coming on. I'll for the people listening, jump in the bio. Every link for Ryan will be in there. But we appreciate your time today, brother.
Thanks, brother. Big love.
Big love.